If you were to rate yourself driving level from 0 to 10,
Three.
be honest,
Three, right off the bat.
really. So I think a lot of people may be wondering what you do to make money.
Well, like I said, Peter, one of my, I guess, personal goals is to kind of break down the walls around, motorsport.
Yeah.
And just really be as transparent as I possibly can.
All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Sub 2 Club. Today I'm back here with James Lee, but we're just sitting down today and going to be talking about, I guess, motorsports. James recently got into Porsche Cup. What's the official name for it?
The official name is Porsche Sprint Challenge.
Sprint Challenge. Okay. And yeah, we're just going to be mainly talking about that and asking him questions. For those of you that may be interested in getting into like actual racing, not just track days, but actual racing, he's been doing it. So I'm just kind of curious myself too. So yeah, let's fire away. So tell me what you've been up to lately.
From the last interview we did, we covered my racing background. And I had mentioned that I've taken a little bit of a break and recently gotten back into it, right? Or was going to, per the last interview. Well, I did. Hopped back in about I missed 3 races last season, and that was the first season that I was introduced to the Porsche Sprint Challenge series. But yeah, that's what we've been doing last year.
Okay.
So it spanned probably from around, I want to say a little bit after March. I would say maybe August until October, and that's when the season ended. So right now we're in off season, just gearing up for next season.
Okay.
And so that's what I've been up to, going out to the track a lot and developing other drivers and kind of giving back to the community. But other than that, yeah.
Okay. I guess let's start with how many people are in your class or league?
They cap it at about 40.
Okay.
So on track at once in one class, so it would be 992 for the generation of the car. There's about maybe 35 to 40. That's what we've seen on average last season.
Wow, that's a lot of cars. And it's door to door, 992s, 30, 40 Porsches.
Oh yeah,
Is it how does that feel?
it's really fun, honestly. Like that's what I live and breathe for, is racing, any type of wheel-to-wheel racing. As long as the competition is good, I think it's a lot of fun. It gets the adrenaline pumping, and just being inches away from another car as you're going through a corner has always just been like something that really excites me.
How would, like, let's say I wanted to do this tomorrow.
Okay.
How would I start?
I would pretty much start by asking you. I get that a lot. I would start by asking you, well, have you done track days in the past, right? Kind of gauge like what your driver experience level is, and then let's say you have, right? I would say, have you done any, wheel-to-wheel stuff, stuff like that, because this is a licensed series, right? So you do need an FIA license, a USAC license. So stuff like that is, I guess, the next step up from grassroots stuff, club stuff, such as NASA and SCCA. Following that progression, I guess you can kind of safe to say like you do need an SCCA license, NASA, to ensure that you do have the experience being on track and racing for position wheel to wheel. So that's probably where I would recommend that you would start if you don't have your SCCA or NASA license already.
Okay.
And just kind of get your feet wet,
Yeah. Does having a Sub 2 Club sticker help?
It definitely does. It definitely does. Better yet, a sub 150 sticker.
Yeah. For sure.
Yes.
The most important question for people that are watching, how much does it cost? So you would be renting a car, all your licensing fees, whatnot. I mean, that's a really broad question, but would you have any idea how much it would cost?
I was going to say that is quite a broad question. But like I kind of mentioned to you earlier off camera, is that I really do want to educate everybody wanting to get into motorsports, and really help them be able to do it the right way and the most cost-effective way, right? Because not everybody has an unlimited bank account.
Right.
And racing is expensive. The reason why that question's a little bit broad is because, like, are we talking all the way from, getting any type of license up until racing, or
I guess for people that have tried track days,
Mm-hmm.
and let's say you actually got a license from SCCA or realize that you're kind of fast, but then you want to be a little more competitive, maybe door to door.
so at that point, yeah, the next step I would be applying for, a USAC FIA license, something similar to that. And that's why I always tell all of my clients that are wanting to get into wheel-to-wheel racing to always have, like, I guess, their racing CV on them, because that is a thing.
Yeah.
So always have that ready, because you never know who you're going to meet. But also, when you apply for that license, you're going to need to show that. But cost-wise, licensing is probably going to be around 1,000 to 1,500 for the license, and then renewal after that is significantly cheaper. I'd probably say maybe 350 to 400. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but it's been a while. Yeah, it's just on auto renew. Yeah,
Do you have to have a car to race, or do most people rent?
that's a really good question, actually. So most people actually rent because race cars aren't quite like street cars. They go by hours, and the maintenance is significantly more expensive than it would be just to do an oil change or brakes on something like this. So most people do rent just because of the running costs, and also race cars are not street legal, and they diminish in value, I would say, quite quickly after the homologation has expired. So it's just, in my opinion, a safer bet to rent the car.
Right,
Have
right.
someone else kind of take on that responsibility and put their money into it.
Got it. And obviously, when you rent, are you paying by per race season or per month, or how does that work?
So a lot of teams do it kind of differently. There are teams that do it kind of a la carte, where you can pick and choose, because during the race season, or actually during off season as well, there's a lot of testing involved, right? Pre-season, pre-race testing, that type of stuff. So that gives, some teams give you the option to do it a la carte. So you can pick and choose what you want. You can do half a season, you can do a couple races, stuff like that. Usually it's more cost effective to kind of go in the entire season and then have the test days and such as an added expense.
And what do you have different choices in cars, or how do you pick the cars?
If you're going into, I guess, multi-class racing, there are a lot of different manufacturers, kind of like the SRO stuff. You have BMW, McLaren, Mercedes, and Porsche, stuff like that. But in a one-make series or single class, such as Porsche Sprint Challenge, it would only be Porsche. That's the manufacturer backing the series, and you do have some options in terms of which model you want to race. They have the Cayman, the Club Sport, the 991 GT3 Cup, and the 992 GT3 Cup.
Oh, they still have the 991.
They do, yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
I wonder why that is.
It's just been really popular,
Okay.
A lot of teams still run them out in Europe as well.
Okay.
So that's been here to stay. But fun fact, the GT4 Cayman did get an update. So after last season, that was the stop for GT4 Club Sport, and now it's the GT4 RS Club Sport.
I see. Wow.
Yeah, so all the teams have to switch cars if they
Yeah.
want to race Cayman.
From GT4 to GT4 RS, there's quite a bit of jump, right, in price.
I would say so. Maybe close to 100,000
Yeah.
for a new unit.
Right, right.
But I guess it makes sense because it's natural progression for Porsche to push, whatever newest, highest performing model of the Cayman.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah.
And why did you choose 992?
So last season I started out in 991, and it's more competitive, if I could be completely honest, in 992.
As far as
So-
drivers go, or
Everything,
Okay.
but mainly, yes, the driving field. Don't get me wrong, 991, they have a lot of very, very fast drivers. But 992 is, I guess, more of a broad spectrum.
the pinnacle of this?
Currently,
Yeah,
until they come
yeah.
out with something crazy, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. 992 is the newest, hottest thing.
Gotcha.
Sprint Challenge runs it, Carrera Cup runs it. Pretty much any Porsche, I guess, manufacturer back series, that's like kind of the go-to.
Okay.
Yeah.
One question that I have is, what made you want to go Porsche? Because Porsche is expensive, obviously, right? And there's other races out there.
That's a really good question. So, my short answer would be that I guess the ethos of the manufacturer aligns with kind of what I'm looking for, in terms of the fact that Porsche does listen to its clients and its customers, and from the different generations and variants of their models that they release, you can kind of see where they picked up off the bad stuff that the customers said and implemented new technology and revised it for the coming models. And I think that's great, because it's these large manufacturers. It's hard for you to feel like, I guess, your voice matters, if that's a way that I can put it.
Yeah, that's complete. I work for a car company, right?
Yes.
And we do surveys like that.
Yeah.
But it's impossible to just mainly focus on motorsports feedback. But Porsche is doing that.
Yeah, I mean, just the heritage alone in the manufacturer has definitely attracted my attention. The cars drive nice.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. The cars kind of fit my driving style in terms of like visibility and stuff like that. And it's just a very usable vehicle when we're talking off track. So that's the short answer for it.
Okay.
The long answer is, I guess, if I could add a little tidbit in there, is that their involvement in motorsport has been nonstop since like the early days of Le Mans, stuff like that. And I think that's just really cool to kind of be a part of
Yeah.
when you get into Porsche customer racing and stuff like that.
Speaking of that, what do you think about Ferraris then? Because they've been heavily into motorsports, maybe in a different way. What are your thoughts on Ferrari in general?
Well, it's gonna get me blacklisted by Ferrari. So if the boys in Maranello are watching, I do want to say that you guys have an excellent F1 program. However, I do believe that the sheer difference between their motorsport chassis and stuff like that and the lineage behind that, the stark difference between that and their street cars that they put out, it's
quite a difference.
It's quite a difference. Yeah, like you don't really get much. I understand it's a trickle down. Obviously, they're not going to put their LMDH stuff into a street car, but it could be a little bit more usable, right? And it could be a little bit more apparent,
Right.
in their street cars.
Right. I see what you mean, because it's kind of like a fashion show in a way. Like you see, like Italian like luxury brands, they do a fashion show and they put out something like crazy, way too crazy to wear on the street.
Yeah.
But like what they actually sell is like very different from that, right? Whereas I feel like Porsches, they put out they do all the racing and they put out something more similar to what they're doing at the track.
Yeah, I do want to expand on that. So, Porsches do that, and some of their, you could say, really, really, really homologated race engines do go into some of the street cars,
Right.
which I think is absolutely amazing. But more so, I wanted to expand on, I guess, the fashion analogy that you made, right? So, I think it's less so the fashion show compared to what you can actually buy in an atelier type of situation. More so, I feel like the street cars are just so separated from the race stuff, because Ferrari does have Ferrari Challenge, right?
Right.
Which is similar to, I guess, the Porsche Cup cars and stuff like that, and Lamborghini Super Trofeo. However, when you get those cars and you compare them to the street, their street sisters, it's a little bit too different.
Right. And for the viewers, if you have a Ferrari, if you do Ferrari Challenge, please let me know what you think, because I mean, what do I know? I used to own S13 240SX just until a couple months ago.
But now you have something cooler.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's for sale, by the way. But
Again?
yeah,
Oh, boy.
anyway, that's a long story. Yeah, if you have a Ferrari, if you did Ferrari challenge, please leave a comment. Email me, and we can discuss. I still have more questions about the price mainly. I think because
I don't really think we put like a number on that yet.
right,
So,
right,
yeah.
right. So realistically, let's say a person has maybe 100 track days under his belt, owns a nice car, let's say, $50,000 car. He sells it and he wants to race Porsche. Obviously, that won't be possible, right, with $50,000. So what is a realistic price? Or if price is too sensitive, then maybe we can do like compared to car. Like what kind of car would you have to sell and then get into racing for 1 year?
Well, like I said, Peter, one of my, I guess, personal goals is to kind of break down the walls around, motorsport.
Yeah.
And just really be as transparent as I possibly can to everybody wanting to get into to such a sport. Let me preface my answer, right? There's many ways. I get this question a lot, like, oh, what can I do to kind of assist with the funding and, gain the attention of sponsors and stuff like that. And one of the, I guess, most cliche answers, but most effective answers is three things, right? One, just be at the track and carry that CV on you, right? And just mingle and talk to people, right? You never know who you're gonna meet.
Yeah.
Number two would be, try your hand at karting. A good kart, a competitive kart, can maybe run you about $3,000 to $4,000, right? And number three is just esports, right? Esports is blowing up nowadays, and I do think that if you hop into esports and you invest maybe $10,000 to $13,000 on a sim rig, it doesn't even have to be that expensive. It could be down in the $6,000 range, but something that you can actually get feedback from and feel like you're actually in the car. That could get you a long way, and you actually are competitive, right? Now getting on to the main question at hand, right? I can equate it to a car's value, or I guess we could do it that way, right? So for one season, I would probably have to say it falls between, depending on what type of racing you want to do. Let's say it's the Porsche, the Sprint Challenge, or Carrera Cup stuff. There is a price range involved in that. So let's just say at the lower end, maybe Lamborghini Aventador, if you had that and you sold that. On the top end, maybe a Singer Porsche.
Oh wow. Okay, I'm gonna start Googling. Is that for the whole year?
That's for the whole season.
Whole
Yes.
season. Okay.
I can also add in the pricing for, I guess, GT3 class racing as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
I mean, there's very many different facets to wheel racing. You can do sports car racing, so that's like tin top stuff, something that has a roof. You can go the open wheel route, but GT3 class racing can go from anywhere, Singer Porsche range to Bugatti
wow.
range,
Yeah.
something along that.
Yeah.
Depending on which team you go with, which series, stuff like that.
That's including all the travel, all the
No,
amenities, or that's separate?
yeah.
That's-
So all your travel, your airfare, your accommodations, most of the time is separate, including your media personnel.
Okay.
So your photographer, your videographer, stuff like that. You pay for them on your own dime.
Okay.
Some teams do provide that though. Some teams do provide their media people.
I see. So you first find the team, and then you reach out to them.
Yeah.
And then you buy a deal, and then, or not buy, but you make a deal, and then you start driving for
Exactly.
that team. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. Next question is, how many drivers for what you do right now are paid or paying drivers versus like professional drivers that are getting paid to drive?
It's about 95%.
Paid. Or
Exactly.
you're paying to drive, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that doesn't, I'm counting the people that have some of their seasons subsidized by brands or the team itself,
Right.
and I'm counting people that are completely just, you know, throwing their own money at it, right, without anybody else's any companies
Right.
help.
Right.
Yeah.
And I want to emphasize this real quick. James has worked really, really hard to be in this position. It wasn't just handed to him. So I want to emphasize that. And yeah, work hard. Work hard. Work harder.
No, me too. Yeah, trust me. Trust me.
Well, after paying this bill or paying the bill to raise, I'm sure you need to.
Luckily, some things are subsidized now. But for the majority of my quote unquote career, it's been all self funded.
And you're doing a full season next year, right?
Yeah, so next year was supposed to be, I wanted to hop into Carrera Cup, which is more East Coast based.
Okay.
But some timing restrictions and stuff like that meant that the spots filled up, and I will be in Sprint Challenge again, Sprint Challenge West, next year for the entire season.
I see. Is Carrera Cup like just normal Carreras or?
So it's essentially the exact same as Sprint Challenge, but you take out all the other. It's just mainly it's 992. It's whatever is
Okay.
and Carrera Cup is an international series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's still GT3 Cup
is it?
car.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's the same platform across. So
Wow.
it's great because we can use the cars that we have now and go into the series.
Oh, is it just completely different?
It's all just
series?
992 GT3 Cup cars.
Okay.
Yeah, it is a completely different series though.
Gotcha.
It's the same exact car that you use, so the units are the same. It's just if we were to look at a Porsche like Motorsport triangle, with the pinnacle being like GT3 stuff and their LM program, stuff like that. Carrera Cup and Sprint Challenge fall into the same block.
Okay.
But Carrera Cup holds a little bit more prestige because it is an international series and, everybody, I guess, it comes across like Europe, Asia, North America, stuff like that. And they all culminate the best drivers, I guess, into a series called Super Cup. And Carrera Cup also they are the pre-race for a lot of the IMSA races, as well as the F1 races.
Okay.
So they're the pre-race for those.
Okay. What's your end goal with this?
We'll see.
Well,
Because
actually-
I know you asked me last time we had a little interview session, and my short answer was to be paid to drive, right? That's still the goal. That's still the underlying goal. But now I'm just like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I think a lot of people may be wondering what you do to make money, or what your job is day to day. So briefly, can you explain what you do?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And I would love to. So on my day-to-day, I own a company. We specialize in textiles, like clothing fabrics, stuff like that. So pretty much we import them, we middleman it, and then we sell it off to end user. They come in rolls and stuff. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, mainly from Asia. But I also specialize in multifamily development around the LA area. So we put up houses and apartment buildings for students to live in. And then we have income from that.
Okay.
But that's been more of a more recent endeavor. It's mainly because, I'm trying to expand my horizons. But that's literally all I do.
Okay.
Not like, I know it's a lot, but like at the same time, it's not like I'm doing crypto or stocks or stuff like that.
If you were to rate yourself driving level from 0 to 10,
3,
be honest.
3 right off the bat.
Really?
I do think that, one of the things that makes a driver good is that really harsh self-evaluation. Because if you think you're the best driver in the world, you're going to become complacent and you're not going to move forward.
Right.
Yeah, so I would stay at a hard 3 or 4.
Okay.
4 on a good day if I've had a lot of rest.
But for me, I like to experience as many cars as I can because and they're all different, right? All
course,
cars are
yeah.
different. Like for you, you found your car. I have not yet found my car, so I'm constantly in a search for that next car, and that's why I truly enjoy like doing this interview, because like everyone has a different car. I ask their opinion. I go home, I edit it. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what this car is about, you know.
I think if I were to say finding your car, like I didn't necessarily find the car. I found the brand, right? And the brand led me to cars that I guess really clicked with me, right? That's not to say that I don't enjoy driving other cars,
Right,
Like,
right.
you know, I love the S2000.
Yeah.
I bought a Hellcat off of impulse because I think it's a car that you have to be an adaptable driver to drive, right? Just due to sheer weight and just its boatiness,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's good to try different things, right? And always just make sure you're adaptable as a driver, and that's kind of what I teach my students is you have to be able to adapt to any car. I don't want to curate a lot of people that are only good in one car. I want to make people good in all cars, right? And I hold myself up to that exact same standard.
How do you mentally overcome your stress at the track?
At the end of the day, it's all about, I guess, just seeing it as this has been your lifelong dream, right? This is what you want to do. So why wrap yourself around the idea that it's really, really stressful? Instead, you can wrap yourself around the idea that it's really, really fun, right? And you're just out there to have fun. Yeah. And then also
That's a
picking the
really
right
good
music
answer.
to listen to before you get in the car.
Gotcha, gotcha. What do you think about when you're driving?
Winning.
Winning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Winning and just being aware of your surroundings and managing tire wear, stuff like that later in the race.
Okay. Do you have to worry about tire wear and fuel?
It was more so in the 991s.
Okay.
But the 992s, they've also been a lot better with tire wear.
Right.
But most of the time, it just comes down to adjusting the brake bias. And kind
Interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that can go back to the question about strategy.
Yeah.
Is you can start out with different brake biases to preserve tires.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah. And then,
Okay.
yeah, because a more rear biased car is gonna run a faster lap, but a front biased car is gonna conserve tires a little bit, especially on the rear, which is where the power goes.
I see.
Traction control, which is new to 992, 991 didn't have any, and brake bias.
Okay.
So we can adjust brake bias on the fly, and ABS.
Oh, so do you play around with all those buttons when you're racing?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay.
Other times I'm just dumb and I thug it out. And see what happens.
Dog life.
Yeah.
Jumping to a different topic, you guys still do TDE, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, to the viewers that may not know about TDE, what is TDE and what do you offer?
So TDE is my driver development company. It's called the Driver's Edge, and what we offer both one-to-one private client days. So we piggyback off of great organizations that host these track days, such as Speed District or SoCal Drivers Club, and usually we get hired out to work with a client and help them progress in a high performance driving setting. We're trying to help drivers experience their passion in a really exciting manner, but also a knowledgeable one.
Yeah.
And where they can do it consistently. I know for myself, right when I first started driving cars, there was a lot of things that I knew were pinpointed weaknesses. Moving from the cart to the cars, like I told you in the last interview, like there's more facets that you have to kind of adapt to. And I knew that those were weaknesses for me. But it's kind of intimidating to, I guess, reach out at the track days themselves and ask other drivers for help. And even then, you don't know if it's the right help.
Okay.
Right. So we try to cater that professionally, from a pro driver to wherever you may be, beginner to advanced to another pro driver.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's always good to kind of help each other out.
Yeah. To the viewers that are watching, let's say someone might be newer, would you, and maybe this person lives far away so he can't hire you, what would be the best advice? Give me like 2 best advice you can give to people that haven't tracked, are ready to get into track.
Yeah, one of the best, I guess, if I could give you 2 pieces of advice right off the bat, would be one, don't just say screw it when it comes to, I guess, certain things like replacing your tires right before a track day, because like one of the things that would ruin your day is if there was a mechanical failure on the vehicle, right? Which I'm sure you and I are both very familiar with.
Well, I'm laughing because I think of
I've been stuck at the track before until like 4 in the morning, waiting for AAA. We won't get into that. The second piece of advice is to reach out. Any help is better than none, right? So you can reach out to either myself directly, and I can give you tips and tricks like through messaging, or reach out to somebody that is somewhat experienced. But like I said, it's very dangerous, or risky rather, asking people that go to the track for advice, because you don't know if you're getting the right advice. And bad habits are very easy to form, but they're really, really hard to break.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like today we covered some questions about being at a professional level driving. We wanted to show you guys the car that James drives, but unfortunately it's being worked on currently. So we'll revisit him in the future and show the car and then cover the car only. Today we focus on the driver aspect.
So make sure you guys subscribe and stay tuned, because I guarantee you that one is going to be crazy, because we're going to have maybe those 2, and then maybe even the 991 Cup car, and then whatever else is at the spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, make sure you guys stay tuned.
Yeah. Thank you so much, James.
Like, comment, subscribe.
You're much better YouTuber than me, man. So if you guys want to follow James's journey,
so I am on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube recently.
Okay.
Yeah, so my Instagram is Mr. JJLI. So that's Mr.JJLI.
okay.
The Driver's Edge Instagram is DRVRS_edge. And then the YouTube is James Lee Racing.
Okay.
And the TikTok is the same as my Instagram.
Okay.
So if you guys want to see some cool stuff,
Thank you.